Okay, gentlemen, let's get ready. Okay, I call this regular session to order, Wednesday, June 19th. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll open it up for visitor comments. Hi, Patrick.
Hi.
Please state your name for the record.
Patrick Berkeley, St. Helens 254 South 14th.
And schools.
You might know that as my presence at the work session means school's out. School's out. No, I just wanted to comment. I found the presentation about the provision of internet access, the broadband internet access, very interesting, even though it was very, I guess, technical in some ways. I think I wanted to speak in favor of the city doing as much as it can to pursue developing that for a number of reasons. Actually, this is something I think the city should have maybe pursued 10 years ago. I was fortunate to be part of the Columbia Roundtable when the Columbia Learning Center was built, and which was first served as an ISP for a good portion of St. Helens and the county to bring internet service to St. Helens and Columbia County. And of course, as things grew and developed, other providers were able to do much more. But it opened a whole new window of learning. I think, as a matter of fact, the slogan of the Columbia Learning Center was maybe a window to a wider world. And so I think that it is very important for the city to look at ways to provide more cost-effective service to our community, especially to citizens who might not otherwise be able to afford the services that are currently available. I did hear expressions by council members at the end of that meeting about having so many other things on our plate, whether this or not this is the right time to pursue this. But I believe it absolutely is, and that it certainly dovetails with other things the city is doing, especially in terms of development of the waterfront and the Boise property. I think that as we look at developing the waterfront property, however that may turn out in terms of residences, businesses, and wanting to draw businesses and residents to our community, I think in this day and age, a primary factor is accessibility through the internet. And I think that if the city, another thing that impressed me about the presentation was that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing sort of deal. The presenters gave several options where this can be done incrementally through a mix of fiber optics, through wireless, a combination of both. And I just ask that you consider the possibility of fitting that in with the overall vision. Does fiber optic make sense to make that as part of the, urban growth renewal and in terms of putting in the infrastructure for attracting businesses and residents? Would a fiber optic system in that area be something to consider, while at other times we provide for the wireless access throughout the larger community? So I know there was another gentleman here, and he's here again today. I think he came specifically because he heard that was on your agenda. So I just encourage you to really continue to dig into this, investigate the possibilities, because I think it absolute provides some synergy for other opportunities for development here in the city that we're looking for St. Helens to become the community I think that we all hope that it will become to be a place where it provides opportunities for employment, for commerce, for small businesses, perhaps larger businesses. And in this day and age, if we are not being provided those services through other means, the city can be a spur to do that. And as the gentleman also said, you know, there's history of communities where even the talk of pursuing this motivated the internet service providers to double capacity and slash prices. So I just encourage you to do everything you can to investigate this, move forward, plan. You don't have to commit to anything, but I think you need to strike while the iron's hot now for the benefit of our community.
Thank you. Other visitor comments?
Evening.
Good evening.
My name is Rich Mason, and I had a couple of questions. First, regarding the 4th of July fireworks. Is that going to be held on the old log yard, or is that going to be on the island?
Going to be on the island.
Going to be on the island?
Mhm.
Okay. The ordinance to amend the municipal code for the city docks,
Yes.
I'm not familiar with that. Are you guys gonna read over that? Or,
It's actually, we're trying to tighten it up a little bit more, make it the 3-day
Oh,
stay,
okay.
so we can enforce it a little bit better. It needs to be tightened up a little bit more. John could probably speak a little bit more on it.
I mean, real high level, it limits the current practice of 5 days and any 30 days to 72 hours in any 14-day period.
okay, which I believe is what the sign says right now, right, down there?
No, it shouldn't.
No?
That hasn't been yet. 5 days in a
Oh.
calendar month, but sometimes people come and they'll stack like 1 month and the other month, and they'll be here for 10 days. Or
Yeah. Well, I know there's
2
there's
weeks
boats
or
down
3
there
weeks.
consistently
Yeah.
that are there for, they're basically using the city docks as their free moorage.
Yep.
Right, and it also has language to tighten some. From your
Yeah.
point of arrival, it's 72 hours.
Okay, that's all well and fine, but you need code enforcement,
Yep, and our enforcement is
because
at
it's
schools,
not,
They're working Saturdays now. That's
okay.
rearrange a shift.
Yeah, because I'm aware that there's a blatant boat that is in violation almost all the time. It's an old black wooden sailboat that has supposedly he's been cited and shouldn't even be within 10-mile radius of the city. And he was there again this week. So it's,
It's a complex issue. And
I
it-
understand.
Overlay with
I
civil
understand.
rights and things. Yeah.
I understand. I just want to make sure that I'm the squeaky wheel. Because I live down in that area, and I see them wandering around, and I know that every time they come to town, the restrooms up there get trashed, and it's bad. So
They go
I understand.
through a lot of toilet paper in the
Yeah.
public restrooms. So.
Yeah, and the holders too, because they rip those apart. Okay, that was
So it also has some language in it that tightens up the definition of an abandoned vessel. So, and this city's ability to tow those and
Okay.
impound. So,
And is the Marine Board going to take care of those, or is the city going to tow them away? And
well, the Marine Board has a program that they have a buyback program that so
Yeah.
these derelict vessels don't end up back in the system. They'll actually
yeah, okay.
And this-
buy them to pull them out of the system so that
Yeah.
and it doesn't
Yeah.
perpetuate.
Because I know there's a guy down there right now that's in violation. He showed up again yesterday, and it's a white Bayliner and a little small runabout, blue runabout, and he leaves, but he stays, and he's not staying on the boat either. He basically ties the boat up there and walks away, and he'll leave it there for days on end. So.
Yeah, it's not intended to be moorage. So.
I understand. I'm just, like I said, I'm the squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
So,
So the nice thing about this is I do believe it's our final reading too. So to be adopted tonight.
I'm sorry.
It's our final reading
Oh,
of the ordinance.
Okay.
We have to read them twice.
Okay.
But this will be going into effect shortly.
okay. Well, my ears will be open.
Yeah, there's a-
Okay.
Keep our code enforcement individual alerted
Hey,
with your vigilance.
In a fit of rage last month, I sent you an email. Yeah, you probably got it. I don't. You didn't respond to it, but
I do read a lot of your emails though. I've gotten, also you've informed me of a Washington boat last year that was
yeah.
tied up for.
Well, this one was about a month ago.
Yeah.
I think it was that.
Yep.
Yeah, but
Unfortunately, my computer has been fussy lately, and I do have a tablet, and I haven't looked at my email.
Oh.
I'm just going to be flat honest with you. I haven't
Oh.
looked at my emails that much lately. So
okay.
So many times, contacting a counselor is effective, but it can also be looked at as micromanaging
Oh.
the staff.
Yeah.
So
I believe I
just,
I have
yes,
copied you and I've copied Keith
Right.
on some of them. I'll usually send them to Rick and copy one of you guys or
Right.
something. But yeah.
so
Sir,
The blue on the end.
Right here.
Would love to hear from you.
hi. Please call me. Call the police department. We have adjusted our code enforcement officers' hours and days off to mirror the incoming summer traffic. I think we all in this room, at least this side, I can't speak for the public, are on the same sheet of music as you. You know, we and that's why council took some steps to amend the code to put a little more teeth into it. As much as you hate calling and seeing it, trust me, I hate hearing it, and that's passed down to the officers. And so they understand that that is a priority because we don't want undesirables in our city. We want great people and everything. And so this new ordinance is going to help us along the way. By all means, you can call the police department. I will, after this, give you my personal cell number and you can call me. But please, I'll just tell you, the council, they are busy people. This is what I was hired for, and this is a passion of mine to ensure that, we have a safe community to live in, and we want the people here. We welcome all people, but there are rules to follow. And like I said, we will be, hopefully not having to tow any boats, but this ordinance is going to be very effective for us. So, and I'd like to talk to you about maybe recruiting you for a volunteer. You could be an extra set of eyes and ears for us to kind of.
I walk. I do my loop around town.
And if it would, so we'll talk offline and see, maybe we can partner together to make our community a better place. And, I'd be delighted to have you, help us out and, not to skirt our responsibilities, but I think partnering with the community is one of our main goals with the police department. And there's a perfect example of it. So anyway, I guess just to wrap this up, please call me. Don't call them. So about voting issues, call them about anything else, but voting or violations of the ordinance, call me. So.
It'll just get to the code person that can actually make a difference. It'll get to them faster through him.
Correct.
All right.
Because he knows where she is and when she works, and he's their boss.
Okay.
So it's just going to go lots quicker for everybody.
Great. That's all I had. Thank
Thank
you.
you, Rich. Other visitor comments? Okay. Deliberations on comprehensive plan and zone amendment at 164, 170, 180 South First Street. Okay, so we heard everything we needed to hear from Jacob. I know there's been some talk about the building. You guys want to further discuss that?
I have a hard time with actually putting an ironclad condition on the zone change. I would rather put it kind of like how the planning commission puts it to us, with a recommendation to the owners that they make that adjustment. I wouldn't want to you got to tear your building down or we're not going to do this kind of thing. I just want to be more user friendly to those in the historic district. I know I hear in the community when people are like, I don't want this to be designated historic because then I can't do with what I want with my property. And there's that whole stigma about historic homes and stuff. And I don't know if that's a big deal and I'm just oversensitizing it and they have intent to tear it down. But I know that most of the people that come into planning commission, doing what they want with their property is a pretty big deal. And so I don't know. I mean, I haven't walked that building this week, but I walked that street quite a bit, and I wouldn't say that it's on the verge of tipping over in a immediate It's not putting people in immediate danger.
There is one fact that you should be aware of. That property is outside the historic district. The one on the south side
Oh, okay.
has a really weird pattern right there.
So that's just my view. I understand that we want to get things cleaned up and make it look nice. But they're not asking to build anything. They're just asking, so then if their house were to catch fire, they'd be able to rebuild it.
Well, it's not only getting it cleaned up and make it look nice. That's part of it, but the big part is it's a safety issue. It's detrimental to people passing by, kids especially. So I favor a condition of I like the proposal. I go along with it going to residential with the condition of the building needs to go away.
It's in your front yard. What do you think?
We could probably just send Bob up there and have a yellow ticket on it or whatever it has.
What's that?
We no longer have Bob.
Bob is long
I
gone.
mean, Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. I know. But no, I think it should come down to conform. Should have came down years ago.
Unfortunately, it's part of St. Helens. And since it's not overhanging the sidewalk and nails are not sticking out of it, in many ways it's not a danger. If that's considered danger because it's close to the sidewalk, we got to wipe out all of First Street. I think by actual time, the residents will probably take care of that. I don't think it should be any condition to remove it. It's an ugly looking thing, but that's up to who's looking at it. It is historic. I mean, it is, oh, look, there's the old beauty parlor. And in some ways, we are trying to stay in Old Town. Since most of this rule change is for the banks to be able to sell, finance, or do other weird things with it, I think it ought to stay. It's not nice, and as I say, we'll more than likely probably go. Unless they cut a window in it and sell frozen custard out of it like Dairy Delish.
You never know.
Well, then you would not be in favor of it being a residential zone. You would be in favor of it remaining commercial.
Not particularly
If you're
true.
going to, if you're
Not
going to,
particularly true, Councillor Morton.
if you're going to sell out of a window, that's my point.
That is not particularly true because it's grandfathered in, and we, as a city, I feel should not have the right to tell anybody what they need to do with their property on an existing property that's been there since 1930. I can smell the dye, the women's dye right now, and it stunk back in the day, by the way. Walking by that place, I've grown up here all my life. Unless it is absolutely a detriment to the community where it is going to fall down on somebody, I don't think we have any right in putting a debate on this building that is within the property. It doesn't have the proper setbacks. You're correct if you were to build today, but it's been there since 1930. Move there. I would like to know a little bit more of the historical aspect of that. Maybe the Historical Society could look into that. But it's definitely not a good place for commercial. I get that. There is no parking. To build, you would be completely out the back. Even if you sunk pylons, you're going to be in that 20-foot setback on that side. It's a difficult chunk of property to do anything commercial-wise in the future. It is what it is. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And that's my take. So I am not for a clause of them having to tear it down, but I am for the comprehensive zone amendment.
I think you're right. It is what it is, and that was put up in a time when St. Helens didn't have a whole lot of rules, if any. Just leave it the way it is, and I think the biggest thing we have to worry about is what the banks will finance, whatever the rules have to be for that. The architectural wonderfulness of it is whatever you like, whatever.
So, Jenny's, you have to clarify, and you're probably right in the middle of where Keith and I are, and where Steve and Rick are.
I mean,
what's your
I'm
feeling?
gonna ask staff if you can word it the way we do that with a recommendation as opposed to a condition.
If we did a recommendation, I think what we would do, I guess we could put it in the ordinance. We could either add the recommendation in the ordinance, or just have a letter going out specifically that says, the council's decision was this. We also discussed.
I also want it noted in that decision, though, that I am not in favor. I want it descriptive that how we voted on that. as
No,
well.
I don't want it all messy, and it's like,
I think the easiest thing, if it ends up being a recommendation, we'd probably just say, there's the ordinance track that adopts it, and then there's the side track. We send them a letter saying, there's this discussion here.
can you put just like as a letter to them, just a discussion that there was concerns about safety about the building and its proximity to the sidewalk.
Yeah, we could do
And
something
then
like
it's
that.
like, then they know that down the road, if they go that way and want to clean it up and move it, that would be pleasant to us.
It would be,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, so then it's more of a partnership as opposed to a mandate.
yeah, so it's holding hands rather than,
It was not uncommon back in 1930
Yeah.
to put your buildings right on the lot. Find that line and go.
The-
It was not uncommon. I just got to state that for the record, that this,
topography of
what
our
we're
building is
asking is really opening up a whole different
Yeah,
ball of wax around our city in the historical society, not even the historic society, even up till 1950, you can go over behind the 18th Street, 17th Street, and you'll see some of those homes were put almost with zero setback
yeah.
on their garages and stuff. You guys, we're opening up a whole ball of wax here.
Yeah,
It
it-
does not make sense to me that you
That's-
guys are even thinking
Well,
about it.
I think just given that we're so rocky and lumpy and people build where the buildings will fit. When you're got the drop off going down to River Street, they put stuff where they could. They weren't trying to be in the road. They were just trying to.
I'm
fit
just
on the
trying to.
wall.
We get enough heat as it is, you guys.
Right.
I'm just trying to say that you guys are going down a very bumpy road, and I want, if we are going to vote that way with a recommendation, I want to make sure that it's stated that the mayor in no way, shape, or form recommended this.
Where were you when I developed
I
the
was
historic home? and-
probably
Well, it's the
landscaping.
same. I did the same issue.
Doug,
the
Doug,
same
I
ing-
had to go through the same. I have to go through.
I
all the
understand
hoops
that, but
as
my
well.
that
I've
house
been,
that
I've been
house
do-
that I did was in the historical district. This one is not. This one is not in the historical district.
Counselor. So
I went through it.
just because you didn't get your way at the time, and the council chose and staff went that route, doesn't mean that we should all have to follow.
I did get my way.
Okay, so
You
perfect.
know, I did what I wanted to do.
Perfect.
However, I followed what the planning commission and the historical group recommended. So, and that was my way. I didn't argue about it.
Because
but
was it in the historic
it was in the historic.
district, which is not this house. It's the abutting house. So your argument is not even, it's moot to this particular house. It's the house closer.
I totally
South.
disagree. I disagree with you.
No, is that house historical? One with little shack? I'm just asking right now.
it is not a locally designated landmark,
It's the yellow house.
and it is not in the historic district. The house to the south is in the historic
Okay.
district.
Okay. So what you're saying about your particular one would be the yellow house. Not.
It's not the yellow house. The one on it's light. It's a
I
light
know
blue
which house we're talking about, but what he's saying, why he had to do these things was because his house was historical down here that he redid, and you did a fabulous job on it, no doubt about it. The one that the attorney's in, that's a beautiful looking home.
Well, the long and the short of it is that I agree with what Jenny is proposing, and I think that that's a good proposal
Yeah.
to make a recommendation and make it more as a partnership or rather as a mandate. I think that's a good point. But I think we should go on record that it is a safety concern, and that's why we're doing the recommendation.
One of the things you're going to have to do is define what safety is. Jacob, on setbacks, the back of that house is on your map is right on the street. The street was put in well after that house was here. If I put a street in beside somebody, do I have to make them move the house to make the setback, or am I stuck with the way it was put in? And my point is, historically, there was nothing behind that house, and there were rules about setbacks. Then we put a street. Does that house have to now follow the setbacks? Or because I put in a street after the fact, do I leave it?
Well, the 0-foot setback along River Street is technically grandfathered. If we look at the rules, so it would be grandfathered.
Okay.
If they tore it down and said, well, I want a new house,
Then it has to go to
it
whatever.
would be a
the-
double frontage lot.
The point is, we've got a bunch of history in here, and we're now got some rules that have got thrown in 2 or 3 times in time. When there was a hairdresser's house, being on the side was absolutely perfect because we had no rules then.
It was a different world, yeah.
And now we're trying to say, oh, we're going to change the rules. You got to change your house. If we do that, does that mean any house in town we can do the same thing to, or any building? We may be setting a precedent by requiring that house to be destroyed or moved or whatever.
Yeah, and so that's why I kind of wrote some basis ideas. If you went down that road, that makes it unique to this situation. I don't have to describe those if I don't need to, but during the break, I was preparing myself.
I think more generally than this issue that it's well within the council's purview to these kind of cleanup things when we do subdivision or platting or partitioning. A lot of times there's survey discrepancies and encroachments and things that are just aren't right. And so through the approval processes, we take matters to rectify those things and change property lines and establish the correct buffers in between things. And this is a little bit different in that it's a zone change and having that nexus to require a condition, but I wouldn't would caution that you do have that authority, but whether you choose to exercise it or not, it's up to you.
But a recommendation is nothing but a piece of paper.
Right.
You can throw it away.
Well, you can sit up, and again, I understand your struggle, and I go through that struggle as far as developing my property, but to impose that a person, to go to the dump nowadays with materials, and you have any construction materials, have you guys taken anything to the dump lately with wood in it and been turned
We're not
around?
imposing anything.
And been turned around? No, if you're saying tear it down.
No, we're recommending.
If you're recommending a tear down, you're recommending that you just go out ahead and shell out about 10 grand.
If they don't want to, they don't have to.
Okay. All right. I
It's
just
a
want to make sure.
recommendation.
I just want to make sure.
This is as soft as we can make it to hear people's conversation. We're gonna conform to what the planning commission recommended, and if in a letter to them, if you could put a footnote about the conversation we've made about proximity to the sidewalk. Just that we look forward to whatever they're gonna do and to clean up the area, because I am fully on board with not mandating what people do with their property, and it's how long's it been there? Longer than I've been alive by a lot of years.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So I have a hard time.
I think
making
longer
people
than
do
all of us have been alive, and that's
Yeah.
where really not.
something. Yeah. So I mean,
That's what I was looking at, Councilor
yeah. So
Topaz.
I just, that's the one thing that people show up at planning commission for 6 years. It's it's my property. I want to do something with it. And why does government have to be always in my back pocket? And so that's kind of where I am on that. I definitely think that people want that right. And the planning commission didn't bat an eye at making this zone change. They didn't even debate it. They didn't even contemplate it. They felt happy in doing it. So we've given it 20 minutes more than the planning commission even thought about.
Someone feel like a motion?
I was just gonna ask her if that was a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Kathy, is the motion clear to you?
Is it clear to you?
Okay, so this is what I think the motion is.
Staff's recommendation with a letter of recommendation to remove the shed.
Yeah, based on the discussion of the council.
What's
I
that?
did. I did. So nothing in the
Steve
ordinance.
Topaz.
Yeah, nothing in the ordinance that is gonna make it weird.
Just want it stated for the record, so I'm throwing out, call the question there, that I don't want my name on the recommendation. That's point blank, mayor did not recommend this.
Well, we do need a vote.
Okay, so there's been made a motion and a second to go under staff's recommendation with a recommendation that they tear down the building within a year. Is that correct?
No.
No.
To approve the comprehensive plan amendment and zoning map amendment
With
with the recommendation to remove the old hair salon building,
with a recommendation to move the hair salon building. Okay.
which would be outside of the ordinance.
So it's not bonding at all. Not binding.
Okay, which would be outside of the ordinance.
That's
Yes,
correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So it won't be written in the ordinance.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll even go aye. Opposed? Hearing none? Okay. Ordinance, final reading. Ordinance number 3238. An ordinance to annex and designate the zone of certain property at 2225 Gable Road. Wake up, council.
Move we adopt ordinance number 3238.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve ordinance 3238. All in favor?
Discussion?
Yep.
And can you elaborate on this just a bit, Jacob?
Yeah, sure. So this is our latest annexation. This is so usually in annexations, there's two reasons people annex. Either they want to use our laws, or they're connecting to a city utility. And usually our laws are, they want our density for residential. This one was unique because the county does not have rules to allow food carts. This is the property in the corner of McNulty Way and Gable Road. And if you've driven by, you probably see a couple food carts there.
That's right.
Last place in the next so many miles for Pronto Pups. Okay, thank you. Corn dog, I don't know what it is. But anyways, that place. So the owners has wanted to do those food carts. I mean, for years, we've been talking on and off about them. And I remember going over there probably 10 years ago, showing off how he was building it. Anyways, finally got to prime time. He wanted to do it. County really didn't have rules to allow it. And we were nervous about the county allowing something on really loosey-goosey terms. And so we said, okay, really for you to do this, you need to annex so you can use our rules to allow it. Thus, the annexation
Thank
for
you.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve ordinance 3238. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? Ordinance number 3239. An ordinance amending St. Helens Municipal Code Chapter 8.28 regarding city docks.
I move we adopt ordinance number 3239.
Second.
As read.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve ordinance number 3239. All in favor?
I have a discussion, if I could, please.
Sure.
there are 2 points. One is number 2 about unoccupied for 4 hours. So people in transit may want to be on shore longer than that. They're passing through one day or whatever. So that they're going to be going more than 4 hours or more. And they won't be on the vessel for more than the required 4 hours.
What's your suggestion?
I believe that relates to the evenings.
I know, but they're
Okay.
let's say they're visiting a friend and they're going to sleep over in their friend's house up on the hill. They would be in violation.
They would probably contact the city and let them know that they're doing that.
Okay, if that could be put in, but it doesn't say. It says if they're not there for 4 hours. The other point is on vehicles. Some of the larger vessels, they'll have a motorized, maybe electrically motorized vehicle that they're going to offload so they have local transportation. This basically describes vehicles that are on land going on the dock. Now, is it just that we use the good nature and observation powers of our law enforcement, or because if he takes a device off his boat, he's going to get arrested?
I don't understand that.
Not if he's not riding it.
Well, how do you get a small electric vehicle off your boat and ride it up? I mean,
They all push. Do you think it's safe to ride on that dock?
with some of these vehicles, yeah. And again, we're not talking about 18-foot sailboat. We're talking about somebody who would have the wherewithal to have a motorized vehicle.
It's not safe to ride on that dock.
So
And I don't know of any dock that I've ever been on that it is safe to ride on in walkways, dockage walkways. I've never seen that.
Your limited view, when you start
My view is
having,
not limited.
when you go to harbors on the East Coast where many of the vessels are 100, 150 foot, people have motorized vehicles that they put on the dock and they drive off and they keep up in the parking lot when they're in the harbor. It isn't typical, I agree. But there are people who have motorized vehicles. If you have, say, a large golf cart and you bring it off, you're not handicapped, you're violating the law, and yet you would drive that up the ramp.
Has this been an issue? Am I missing something? I've lived here all my life. I don't know of anybody driving motor vehicles on the dock.
We haven't seen an issue, Mr. Mayor. I believe, if I can weigh in, is that I think we would put ourselves at a higher risk if we didn't have that in the ordinance, because then we'd be allowing them, and if somebody on a electric scooter drives off the dock and drowns, and we didn't address it, which could happen. I mean,
Yeah.
and so it's to prevent skateboarders, bicycles, and it has to go both ways, coming down the dock, and they just can't have it.
Sure.
But I think it's more of a protection for the city as a whole to have that ordinance in there to say, hey, this is an ordinance. You weren't allowed to have it and have the proper signage when they dock, and I think that's the reason why. So
Okay, because I have seen that, especially those little scooters.
Bikes and
Yeah,
gas
little
scooters.
scooters, and they just fly down it.
Yes.
And it's like,
So if somebody comes on shore with this thing on his aft deck and he uses the davit to put it on the dock and wants to drive around, he gets arrested the minute he puts it on the dock.
no, sir. If he walked it down in a safe manner, yeah, I mean, I don't want to say, it would be, that's, if they push it up the docks or they push it down the docks, then that's, I don't want to say common sense because that's not so
Yeah.
common,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's just something that would, a normal feasible person would believe is okay to do. So, and that's how the law is basically interpreted, what a common person would believe is common. However, it's more of a safety issue, Counselor, that if they, if we don't address it, then we can't get the kids that are riding their skateboards, and we can't get the kids on their bicycles.
I mean, so like, let's say a big yacht showed up, and the code enforcement was down there, and they had pulled up this wagon and loaded some food and stuff, and started. It was electrical, and they started going up the dock. I don't think code enforcement's going to write that person a ticket.
No, we don't.
They understand.
Correct,
what
and
it
it would
is.
explain to them, that's illegal, it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
And 10 times out of 10, people just don't know because they're ignorant of the ordinance, and they're in compliance. It's, it's to make sure the kids and and we're trying to keep our community safe. That's the only reason, but this is, you know, your bailiwick up there. I'm
Yeah.
just weighing in.
I've seen what the kids do with bikes down there, and you definitely need something to stop that. And I'm talking again about somebody coming the other direction. And common sense, they're not going to be racing around, and they've done this before. If this states it hard, no matter the minute he puts that vehicle on the dock, whether he's doing it, this says he would get arrested. If there's a jiggle word in there that allows for common sense or safe use of.
I think that's what the officer's for.
Right. The officers don't arrest, Counselor. They, you know, they use their discretion. They can. That is an option.
Okay, if it said discretion of the safety officer, I would have no problem with it.
Well, that's the only
That's a
person
given.
that's
That's
the only
implied.
person who can enforce our code, and Michael DeRosa. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So, and again, we'd have to go through the entire Oregon revised statute to put that language in there of the officer would, you know, they'd have it's a given. It's in ORS in the beginning of the chapters. Officers have discretion to do A, B, C, and D.
Okay, so it's in the
Yes, sir.
step above that. Okay, because
It's in the ORS that the officers have the discretion to cite, arrest.
okay, if he
you know,
that's
verbal-
what it doesn't have to be in this document. It's
Yes.
already in the other. Okay,
Yes, sir.
that's what I was worried about
Yes.
because it's obvious when people do this that.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was worried, that there's words for discretion of the officer's actions as
Absolutely.
compared to rock hard, which this would indicate.
Yes, and I will guarantee you that the officers of St. Helens Police Department understand that they are ambassadors to this city and they act that way.
Yep.
That again, their name, the badge that says police is a representative of the organization they work for, and their name is a representative of who raised them, and they're to both act accordingly, and that's the marching order. So they are ambassadors.
But there's that ORS that gives them the word discretion.
Yes, sir.
With this doesn't say discretion.
That doesn't, it's an ordinance, but in their police powers, they have the.
Okay,
the
that's what I was worried about.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And if they're caught in any other behavior, they get chiefed. Is what I hear.
And did we just vote?
Does that answer your?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was discretion. It was the discretion part that I wanted to see, and it's not in the ordinance. It's in the one step before.
Okay.
That was the question.
All right. So I have a motion that's been made and seconded to approve ordinance number 3239. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, ordinance number 3240, an ordinance amending the St. Helens Municipal Code, Chapter 13, to define the St. Helens Community Recreation and Parks fee.
Move we approve ordinance number 3240 as read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Making sure there's no question. Okay. Ordinance number 3, there's been a motion and it's been seconded to approve ordinance 3240. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 1853, a resolution authorizing the interfund loan in the amount of $50,000 between the general fund and visitor and tourism fund for fiscal year 2018-19.
I have questions.
Yep.
I had sent a note and I had to Matt that I had wanted something in the packet. I looked hard to try to find, because this seems to be a recurring thing. And it's like, is it a budgeting prior thing? Is it a planning thing? Did something unusual happen? Because normally when this happens in other funds, a piece of equipment arrived early or a contract paid late. And this last year it was 150, this year it's 50. But just for our community and for transparency, I want people to know what this is.
Smaller than last year. That's a good thing, right? So
Well, you would,
we got to look on the
learning.
bright side first.
It's a learning
So,
curve.
Yeah. There's several components that go. God, this mic sucks.
It does really bad. It's really bad.
Okay. So there's a couple things that happened this year in the Visitor Tourism Fund. One of the main reasons we are doing this transfer is because of the motel hotel transient tax fee has come in a fair amount less than what was budgeted. So over the last 3-4 years, we have seen a steady increase of about 10 to 15% every single year for hotels and motels for the transient fee that we charge. This year, we budgeted that same kind of 13.5, 15% increase. It didn't come. So we started seeing a decline of when I was looking at it in December, hoping that maybe some payments came in late. We dug in a little bit into the detail to look at specifically what hotels are giving us and how that compared to previous years. There's definitely a decline in the hotel motel transient fees. There's a couple potential reasons for that. One thing that you can do as a city council is with the transient fee, you have the ability to audit those hotel chains to get more details about maybe why they're not sending in as much money. So we can send in a external auditor to review their books, make sure that they're calculating everything correctly and they're sending us what they should be. That is one option to take a look at if the city council would like to do that. But the main reason for the $50,000 transfer loan is because of the revenue not coming in like we expected. And it's about $35,000, maybe $40,000 less than what we anticipated.
Was that even across the board with all the bed and breakfasts and motels and everything?
The bed and breakfast places, they do bring in an okay amount of transient tax fees. Your two basic hotels, which is Best Western and the Motel 6, are your two biggest culprits where we kind of see a decent amount less than what was seen in previous years.
Were they both about the same?
Motel 6 had a bigger impact than Best Western.
They had construction there, and the restaurant was down for a while.
Well, I just gotta let council know that you can go rent an apartment there, which is not an apartment, it is actually the hotel. And
We don't get fees on
I'm
that.
curious that, yeah, well, they're supposed to, no matter what.
No.
Not if it's a long
Not extended stay.
Yeah.
There's a
So how are they able to convert which was a hotel into Jacob? Give me the good
Make a
mic.
hotel in Jacob anyway.
Hotel Jacob.
So this came up recently, and it's been like that for a long time. And it's what's the difference between short and long term? And I think what they're doing is having less than 30-day periods to stay under that short-term transient lodging versus, your typical dwelling.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the time right. I have notes somewhere, but I believe that's
Part of
what's going on. Yeah.
Because the one buildings I could see would meet codes and everything, because they probably have kitchens and the zoning's right. Is that correct?
The zoning isn't right because it's highway commercial. Highway commercial, the only residents allowed in highway commercial are dwelling units above permitted uses. But hotels and motels are allowed. And when it first happened, I was the associate planner. Skip Baker was the city planner.
Mm-hmm.
And so that all started with him. And so now and of course, different building official, we're a few building officials behind. And so now when it came up, Mike and I had to go, okay, well, what's exactly going on here?
Mm-hmm.
And we believe that's what is going on, staying within the definition of transient lodging.
So is this transfer borrowing money, or is this transfer taking money from the general fund to shore up money not earned?
So the $50,000 comes from the general fund. It will be transferred onto the Visitor Tourism Fund on June 30th. It's the last day of the fiscal year.
And then move back.
On July 1st, there will be a transfer of funds back to the general fund, just like we did last year.
So are we adjusting the budget for the next year to
Yes.
not run short?
Yes, we will be in the future. So I'm not going to go ahead and go through a budget adjustment
No.
now because
But I mean, I don't want to come this time next year and have it be 70,000.
Well, so in the seeing that it was already low back in December, I did adjust next year's budget to I think it was about 96% of what has been collected this current year.
To
So
offset.
I'm anticipating it either staying roughly the same or going down even a little bit more, because I wanted to be safe, not to have to try and do this again.
Back in the day, we didn't used to spend all the money.
Correct.
In the meantime, can we suggest an audit?
You can, as a city council, you can request that we go out. It's usually a simple RFP process, because I'm not sure how much time it would take. It's only 2 basic hotels that I'm assuming you would want to look at. If you wanted to look at all the bed and breakfasts and all the other places, you could. I don't think it would be a little more trivial.
I'd concentrate on the 2 hotels.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm just wondering, historically, how much significantly lower it is over the last 10 years. I mean, is it, I mean, the lowest it's ever been in 10 years?
No, definitely not. It's definitely lower than what we've seen in probably the last 4 years.
Because my concern would be that we had Armstrong closed last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be partly what is going on here as well.
I think too that Cascades didn't have as much going on also. So that's probably another piece of it.
Yeah?
well, and how long ago was the change? They did a bunch of redos at
And-
Village.
And we actually had those, if they were outside contractors and got per diem to stay at a motel, building Cascade Tissue and Scappoose, or any OMEC project, it's a lot
Yeah,
easier
so
to travel to St. Helens than it is Portland.
So keep in mind, even with all of that going on, we've seen a very steady increase of, like I said, 10 to 15% over the last 4 years, and that has a lot of contributing factors in addition to all the tourism events that we've been doing. What's more concerning to me is, one, that it went down, but also, if you remember, we also raised the transient fee. So if you're getting $100 and you raise the transient fee thinking you're getting $110, and now you're getting $80.
That's a big
It's really
swing.
It's even more significant than just saying it went down. So I think an audit would be prudent to move forward on, if the council is okay with that, just to see what's going on. That may help bring up some issues and questions with the Motel 6 and what may be going on there.
We need a motion or head nod.
I think just a head nod right now, and
Yep.
then
Well, the audit could be internal too. We could go out and look at their books too.
we could.
That'd be the quicker answer.
Yes.
Yep.
I'll put that
And they
on the
might have a
calendar.
story. They might have a story though, in
Yeah.
a conversation, they might have this year, last year books, and they can show you.
True.
You know, here's the last 2 years, this is what's happening.
Yep.
And you'll see it by number of registries.
Yeah, it's probably appropriate for John or myself or both of us to
Well, and you
have a
definitely
first
have-
conversation with them, and then if we felt it prudent to move forward with, then someone externally, we could
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have, you raised the rate a little bit, and we're actually even a lot lower than, yes.
Correct.
So I think that is a good point. Okay, so any other thing you want to discuss on this resolution?
That's it. There just wasn't any
Okay,
paperwork in the
so,
packet.
I read it, you guys have to.
Move to approve resolution 1853 as read.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded.
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 1853. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution 1854, a resolution authorizing transfer of appropriations within funds for fiscal year 2018-2019.
Move we approve resolution 1854.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve resolution 1854. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approve and authorize for signature A, Columbia Northwest Heating and Air Conditioning proposal for senior center HVAC system. B, contract payments.
Move we approve and authorize for signatures items A and B.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve A and B. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, consent agenda for acceptance. A, Planning Commission minutes dated May 14th, 2019. Parks and Trails Commission minutes dated May 13th, 2019.
Move we approve consent agenda for acceptance items A and B.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda A and B. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, consent agenda for approval. A, declare surplus properties, library equipment. B, declare surplus properties, police department unclaimed property. C, council work session and public hearing minutes dated June 5th, 2019. D, accounts payable bill list.
I move we approve consent agenda 9A through D as read.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve consent agenda 9A through D as read. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, well, we've got a lot on our plate. Patrick, I really took to heart your comment. We have a lot going on is my whole point. I definitely want to keep, we've been talking about this actually for about 4 months now. We had a gentleman approach us, is it Dan?
Dan Davis.
Dan Davis, yes, about this. So it is definitely something that we've been, just this time of year, we are very busy, a very short staff, limited staff, and this is our work season for, I can tell you the Sue Nelson and Jacob Greichen and Matt, with everything that's going on, they are just bombarded, especially in our planning departments, reviewing a lot of different, the legacy buildings getting ready to open, grand opening Tuesday morning, if you're interested.
Tuesday evening.
Evening. What time? 6 o'clock. And we have the middle school underway. We have also the big apartment complex. We have Leahy's project blasting right now. We have a lot going on. Rich Bailey's, there's a ton of stuff going on. So, and all that stuff, sometimes it doesn't seem like it's related to other departments, but it does ripple down to everybody. It is all of us on this. So, Citizens Day in the Park, Saturday, starts at 11. Come out and get a free burger or a hot dog with cookie and all the condiments. And I think are we going to get a cake? Do we need a head nod to have staff get a cake? Is that what we're going to do? You've mentioned it. Saying happy 20th skate park.
We're working on it.
Okay.
I'll pick
Hopefully
it
we'll
up.
have cake.
If you have a hard time getting the cake, I can get
Get one of those contoured ones, right? Like the skate.
No promises. At this
Can
point,
we have ice cream with that cake?
We're lucky. We're gonna get a. If we get a cake, we'll be lucky.
Okay, all right.
Pretty late.
No ice cream with it? It's a good time, though. We have a lot of businesses that contributed, and the city does a wonderful job. Council and myself, and there's a number of staff that have offered to help out too. But council is prepared to flip burgers and serve
I'm the flipper.
and serve you guys up some good food.
Bring your smoke mask.
Yes, bring a smoke mask. You never know; the wind could change. They're going to be doing a slash burn. The wind could change. Hopefully not. The port is going to be burning out on McNulty Way. Hopefully, the winds are going the right direction on that. I never thought of that. I want to wish everybody a happy 4th, safe, and we're not going to see you. We're not coming back till the 3rd week of July. We take council session off. We used to take 2 months, the first Wednesdays of 2 months in a row, but we decided just to go to one, and this is the July meeting. So
But we'll see you on
have
the
a
waterfront.
happy and safe 4th. That's all I have to report. Council President Morton.
Well, I was really impressed today with the broadband discussions, and 2 individuals here, Patrick and Ben, I believe, are here to kind of listen to how we feel about that. And we do have a lot on our plate, but there's ways around that, and the ways to get around that is to get a citizens group working on it. That puts us, that alleviates us meddling in what citizens can see, and I can see a citizens group working with an issue like this to do a lot of investigation, to do to go forward with it.
You were a school teacher. They get June, July, and August off.
The 3 reasons to teach, right? So anyway, a citizens group makes a lot of sense at this point. I mean, our staff is so busy, and why not ask the citizens to do some research, look into it, and give us some recommendations. So I see that as a good opportunity to involve citizens in a special committee to go forward and research broadband.
With our new community development person.
Right? Either that, well, I was going to make that as part of my report, is that there's work you haven't even seen yet that we've completed internally that's specific to St. Helens. But
oh, really?
There's the county is also actively working on this project with their IT department, and you know, we do have new people in IT that could potentially take on some of this as a special project, at least to fulfill the. You should know the work that we've already.
That's true.
The remaining work we've had completed and next steps.
So maybe you can identify some key players and let them go. I mean, and that won't have anything to do with the council at this point.
Okay.
Anyway, that's my report.
All right. Councilor Topaz.
I got to take back.
As I reported earlier today, that I've been to 4 meetings on the Portland Harbor cleanup, and some of it affects St. Helens here. But a couple of things have come up that are of some importance and absolutely causing great confusion. One of the things that we should know is the Port of Portland has been given a deadline by the EPA. They have to come up with a plan in the next 2 months, or maybe it's a month and a half, of what they're going to do. And there's been a number of funny issues that are in different directions. Talking to Jim McKenna, which is the governor's liaison to this, I found out that all of the material that will come out of the harbor will go to a receiving place, and there it will be separated. So we've heard that only clean stuff is coming out, other stuff is. The plan at this point is that everything comes out and goes to a place where it's going to be cleaned up. There are 2 major players in this. There are a number of business players. One is EPA and one is DEQ, and the ridiculousness of the plan is anything above water is DEQ and anything below water is EPA, and trying to work together has obviously gotten some very interesting, I wouldn't say complementary, anti-complementary decisions. There's a couple of groups in Portland. One is the the Portland Harbor Community Coalition, and they're pushing for when the harbor gets cleaned up, they keep the waterfront, the working waterfront, and keep condos off of it. They want businesses and so on to be next to the water. And then we have pieces of information that are not quite right. One of the pieces of information is that this material from the harbor will be hauled to Hillsborough. And it's pointed out using a Google map, this is 23 miles away. When you talk to truckers, because of roads and federal regulations, you have to go through 217, basically 30, the 400, 217, which makes it 63 miles. The trucking companies say the type of trucks you're going to need and the size, they're going to be running you $150 an hour. The other thing that's peculiar, if you're hauling waste, the people who have to be at the receiving end have to be qualified to receive it. It's a lot easier actually to move explosives than it is waste. If you now take a look at the amount of material to be removed and you go to Hillsborough, it ends up the shipping costs a little over $2 billion. If you bring the same material to St. Helens, by barge, it comes out to about 9 million. This is just shipping costs, nothing else. There are a lot of other costs. So there's a big advantage for Portland. And I would be very much aware that the political forces of trying to put condos and trying to save $2 billion, we're going to be in the bullseye of a lot of political stuff, and the state's quite involved in this. That's the big overall picture of what's happening in Portland with this harbor business. It's absolutely totally confused. Now, I've gotten some other questions, changing the subject, and this is for Matt Brown, basically. People have noticed that we've been repairing the water reservoirs, and they wanted to know how much water did we lose before the first repair job was done, how much of that cost us. And the next thing was how much water did we have to dump over the side during the repair. And then the same question comes up with the second repair. How many millions of gallons of water? What's its cost? And in the cost of repair, we've been dumping water, and so we want to know how much did it cost to neutralize the chlorine. But the one really grinding question that people ask, we had somebody inspect this. Our inspector was watching the process and said it was okay, and yet these things are still leaking. Do we have an idea how much time our inspector was on site, and are they qualified to inspect this type of project? And if not, do we have an outside consultant that's qualified to inspect this? Okay, that's my second major question. I didn't hear any answers.
Well, because it's not a Matt Brown question, it's a Sue Nelson question. Councilor Topaz.
Well, he's got the money. And he's the water department. I was worried about the dollars.
He's not the water filtration department.
Oh.
That is engineering. That is public works.
But he pays for it. It goes through him. I'm asking for dollars. I'm not asking for the work being done. I'm asking for how much it actually costs.
But you did. A lot of it was also water loss, and that would be.
But he has to pay for the water loss because he pumps it out of the wells.
No, that's not how it works.
No, there's not a direct cost for the water that comes out. The retail cost, if somebody was to purchase the water, is different than what the water just sitting in a reservoir costs.
Yeah, but we have to put kilowatts to get it from the well to the reservoir.
Certainly.
And what did that cost?
Well, I couldn't break that amount down for you.
Well, I would hope he could, because he's the one who has to pay for it.
He's not going to have the pumping records and then what percentage of that. It's going to be a negligible cost compared to the operation of the rest of the system.
Well, the reason I asked is a number of months ago I asked about audits. He said he ordered, and I would assume those costs would have been in the audit.
I don't believe that the audit would break down those costs to that minuscule of a level.
And for the record is, so you know, the contractor had a bond, and we actually went against their bond because they failed to perform their duties. So,
I'm well aware of the business is being paid. I just wanted to know I've been asked what are exactly the numbers.
So that would be part of their cost of doing business.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes.
But what was the number? Big, small. I know that you've handled the business well, and they've had a double checks on it.
Well, you threw out many questions.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of costs in every one of those.
If there's certainly some cost to all of those, if you would maybe present all of that in a way that we would have a method and time to look into that, I could potentially answer some of those for you. But I don't have numbers to just say without any type of investigation and
I would
looking
think, in
into
all
some
fairness,
of those.
to give our Public Works Department fair notice of what you want so that they can research it and give you answers. They can't pull that out of their pocket right now and say, okay.
Oh, yes. I asked Matt Brown. He's the man with money and numbers and a computer. He should be able to pick this up
I do not have the tools or resources to answer your questions.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
So if you
Okay.
can make an email or a list of all your questions and give them to Sue Nelson in Public
Yes.
Works, I will work with her to give you the answers in accordance with what she has to say as well.
Okay, well, I got the answer actually that I needed, that you cannot track these costs on your computer system. You have to go back another
Yeah, they're
step.
not metered. They're not metered. They're not. It's not like we're filling up a big reservoir that goes out to meters at individual meters. Councilor Topaz. I mean, I just want to. If you have more to report on, I think this discussion we can continue.
Yeah, I would expect you to have a electric bill from the power company, how much kilowatts you put into your big pumps, but, okay.
No, that it's a wellhead clear up in Columbia City that serves many different. Not only is it serving those, but it's also pushing water to wherever. If we have a fire right now, it's going to come on,
Yeah,
kick on,
okay.
and go.
But do we have a bill at the wellhead?
We have a bill for any of our specific
For the whole
sites,
entire
correct.
month, yeah.
And
If
that's,
you make
but
a
it's,
list of your questions,
Yeah.
give them to Sue Nelson.
Yes,
I will
please.
work with her
Okay.
to answer them.
Yes. So did you have anything else? Susan?
Yes, one more thing.
Okay.
And this again, somebody asked me again the date of sale of the growth, the marijuana growth system, and because we were supposed to after 10 months being paid, and this person was under the impression that in August the sale was made. I'm just asking a question that somebody asked me, and they want to know, since the number of months have gone by, have we received any money from the marijuana
Well,
growth business?
Did you give him the answer? Because you've been notified.
I've been notified. No,
Well, why didn't you give him the answer?
because I told them I would make
The
it
answer-
public.
The answer is no. We've
Okay.
talked about it.
I know we do. I mean, and
Yeah.
I wanted to make
Like
this
it's a
public,
secret.
uh,
Well, but
not
you
just
had-
that one person.
No, but you had the answer.
Yeah,
So you should have given it to that person.
I did.
Okay, all right. So, but you knew the answer. To
Yeah, I did. I know the answer, but
Okay.
I wanted to tell him, and so it
Is
was
that
public.
right now
rather than-
is actually between back and forth between attorneys, and the whole public hearing, which was supposed to be a lease agreement, changed everything due to the Petersons trying to sue us. That changed everything. The lease is no longer, because they came after us because you cannot lease to a marijuana grower. They brought that up. We're going to sell. And then they said we have to get an appraisal, which we didn't because it was within our urban renewal district. And us being an urban renewal agency, we can decide whatever price we want to sell property for. It doesn't matter. But we already had it appraised. So now that we have an appraisal that was way low, it's been a very difficult struggle. And you're well aware of this. 'Cause
Yeah.
We have all been talking about this.
The other question that came up is when we sell property, we have to have it publicly notified. Was this?
No.
Oh,
we
not
don't.
because
Not
of the
within
urban
our-
renewal.
Not within our urban renewal.
Okay, that was the other question.
That was the other one.
So-
that was what got them to drop when Ed said, "You're wrong." Our attorney told the Petersons, and they were wrong. That's when they dropped the lawsuit.
So we have now. You've made the public statement that because of the urban renewal, it's not surplus property following the regular state rules.
Well, we've already
No.
done that.
Yeah.
We went
Were you,
through that- we
well,
went
was
through
it
the process, yeah.
We've already-
publicly advertised 3 times
Yeah, we did more than what was required.
Yes. Yep.
for the sale after the lease came up?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That was the question people asked.
Engaged with the railroad. We've done
Yep.
every possible thing to do, I think. So.
Yep. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
You
Nope.
Sure? Okay. Councilor Carlson. I'll come back to you later. Yep. Sorry. I'm doing.
I didn't have much, just Citizens Day,
Yeah.
13
be
nights.
fun. Yes.
So there's a lot of distraction, a lot of stuff to put together, and just to go kind of a go back at what Patrick had to say. Funny how a school teacher, an elementary school teacher, can put things that are a lot of numbers into a very good perspective. That's like, yeah, I want to do this, and I want to do it with Patrick about the broadband.
Yeah.
Because that whole report was so many numbers, It was hurting my brain. I was like, I can't go back to math. It's been too many years. And just the way Patrick put it, it just seemed like, of course, that seems like a good plan, and we should find space to do this. So I just wanted to appreciate that Patrick takes time out of his evening and comes in, puts in his 2 cents, because it's a community. It's not 5 people. We really appreciate that teamwork, and Patrick has, you know, stepped up many, many times, budget committees and this, that, and the other thing, and always been there to add his voice, and I really appreciate that. And I wanted to pass on, there's a fundraising project that's just got started last week. They're selling raffle tickets for weighted blankets for special needs and for foster kids. I don't know if everybody knows what weighted blankets are. They provide a lot of comfort to people that are PTSD, anxiety, kids on the spectrum, ADHD kids, kids that just need a hug and don't have a parent there to do that. She's selling raffle tickets at 13 nights for $20 a piece. Pretty sure the youth council is going to come however they can to raise enough money to sponsor a blanket, and probably going to challenge people, like if everybody remembers the Ice Bucket Challenge, to challenge every group to sponsor a blanket for those kids, because it's Bailey Perkins is the lady that's leading it, and her goal is to get a weighted blanket for every foster kid in Columbia County, which is total about $5,000, and they're going to be making the blankets. So it's going to be every single blanket stitched with love for those kids. So I think that's just a really cool project.
How many foster kids are you worried about?
She's going to bring us the numbers. She had an appointment today, so I'm not going to steal her numbers and do off the cuff. I'm going to let her do that, but I just thought I'd give you a heads up that it's coming. And also, I saw a report today that I don't know if people have noticed that the Chronicle has been listing the suicide prevention number in their paper and has been running a lot of special interest stories. Julianne Thompson was called out as one of 36 reporters to hold space for the mental health crisis. She was recognized in groupings in the Oregonian with the Portland Business Journal as making space for that in her paper, in her column, and standing up for reducing the stigma and doing that. And I think that bringing and saying that, yeah, we have problems here in St. Helens, but we're not afraid to talk about them candidly and openly and support each other. And I just think that when our newspaper does the right thing, we need to recognize that too.
Yep.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Councilor Locke.
The only thing I have is we talked about the black tie and blue jean donation this year, so you guys weren't really in favor of getting a table, but
I'm in favor of getting a table.
Do we want to do a donation or a table?
No, we hadn't gotten there. It was on the fly of something. We didn't say no. We said bring it up again.
Oh.
That's what I got from the mayor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we want to do 1 table, 2 tables, or donation, or what do we want to do?
Well, I think we could potentially do 2 tables.
We don't know how much a table is.
I think it's $800 table.
And it's 8 per table.
It's either 8 or 6. I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure
I
it's
can
8.
find out, though. It probably is
Pretty
8.
sure
It probably is 8, yeah.
Yeah.
And we need to have a total of what we are for council funds, since we are getting close.
Well, no, we're good. I've already checked on that.
He had to check on that for his picnic.
Yeah, I did.
So,
I did. as a
I
matter of
just
fact.
want to make sure, because
Wanna make sure.
of course we want to support, higher education for our kids.
So we're good for 2 tables then.
We are good for 2 tables. No,
It's a head nod.
You
Head
guys,
nod?
you guys would all like to go, right? Yeah, bring a guest. It's a good place. Well, it's not just that. It mainly is, but it's also auctions, and it's a good cause.
We could go late and leave early, Steve.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely don't.
about
think-
just showing
It's a
up for
nice
the
drive,
kids.
if nothing else.
Showing up for the kids.
Yep.
I've seen the people driving up that road. I'm not so sure it's a nice drive.
So, anyways, 2
Okay.
Anything else, Keith?
That's it.
Okay, Doug, you wanted to go back, so I'm gonna give it to you now before I go to Liam.
Oh, this is very positive. I want to end up on a positive note. And first of all, I'd like to thank everyone for being here in the audience. And you folks make a difference with us. This is your community. This is your work through. And I'm just glad you're here to see it. It's transparency, I think, at its best. So Lynn Pettit is here tonight, and she's here. She is the one that I talked about in my noon report, or the afternoon report. And she is heading up Dalton Lake Reserve, Natural Reserve. And I just wanted you to put, I wanted the council to put a face to the name. And so, this is Lynn, and thank you for being here.
I need, Lynn, I'm going to have you come up to the mic. You have to, because it has to be on the record. And that was some good stuff what you just said, so. Lynn Pettit, I'll go ahead and state her name for the record. Go ahead.
Yes. I did a walking tour of Dalton Lake today with Jerry Belcher, who's the chair of Parks and Trails. And it was very interesting for me to see as much as I did, and it gave me a good idea. Oh, it's wonderful.
On the cliffs, it's like you can see all the birds, all the lily pads. If you have binoculars, you could really see a lot.
Yeah, especially when you're close up. But I do have an appointment with Jennifer Dimshow on the 28th. And she has a lot of maps, and she's going to explain some history to me and a little bit more about ownership, and so we can get started there. And so we've got some plans, or I've got some plans in mind, but I'll update you as things change and start. And I'm going to be talking to Patrick also.
And then, since you brought her up,
Yeah.
when Doug brought you up earlier, I know you and I have had multiple conversations about different things, and I just wanted to extend an official welcome to you to join our youth council anytime, because you keep wanting to help out, you want to meet the kids. That I would love to have you in your role as a parks commissioner come sit down with my youth council and talk to them. I know Councilor Morton invites them to come to other meetings, but as a teenager with no car in school, it's a little bit daunting and overwhelming to go to a room full of adults, but they love having some people come and share the story about what's going on in the city and give them opportunities to engage. So I was going to extend that welcome to you, but
Thank you. I'd love to do that. Thank you very much.
So are you going to get together with Patrick on the broadband bill?
No.
Park.
On Park.
Oh.
Well, actually, I want to call it a preserve, Dalton Lake Preserve.
Right.
Come on up, Patrick.
So one document you should have is the operating and use agreement with ODOT for that property, because the city does have a fair amount of
Pull.
Yeah, we have. I wouldn't say regulatory authority. I just say we have a use agreement that allows us to do a fair amount of things.
Yeah, Jenny, I'm going to be at that meeting too, and we have a lot of that stuff we'll provide her. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that Lynn here has put in some sweat labor at Dalton Lake and on the bluff. A couple of years ago, she's participated in one of the cleanups that I sponsored. And
The homeless camp.
so on that
right?
well, actually this year her husband hauled out hundreds of pounds from a homeless camp just this spring. But a couple of years ago, that entire bluff was overgrown with blackberry. And Lynn, a couple of years ago, was in there cutting and pulling. And I think you go up there, you see the result, the number of native plants that have come back, great camas, fawn lily, checker lily, and Columbia lily. But so, yes, you have someone here who is, she's already put muscle with it and is a great person to lead this project. So I hope that, I know you will give her all the support you can on this, and yeah, but she walks the talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, you, Councilor Liam.
Yes, Liam Frobisher.
Yep.
I've been part of the youth council for about a year now, and I'm really glad I joined. And it's been great to see the youth, our city grow, and the youth council grow in numbers as we've gotten more people. We met on Monday, and what we mainly talked about, we had a gentleman come in and talk to us about the DROP program. There's like 5 of them in Oregon, and essentially what it is it's a safe environment for the youth ages 14 to 25 to go to and to have fun and to have someone they can talk to about, problems they've had. There's trained people. It's kind of like a counselor, but it's mostly younger people, like around our age. So it's more inviting and it's less scary for the youth because you're just going somewhere to hang out and have fun and have someone to talk to rather than setting up an appointment. And so he was discussing with us, how all that worked and that they have a few sites picked out, and I think I'm on board for it, and I think that's something that as a youth council we are looking into and want to help progress, and I think that's something that as a city council we should focus on too, because I think it's important that the city is inviting and that there's safe places for the youth to go, because that's always a problem is, we always talk about suicide prevention and depression and all that stuff, and I think a drop like that would be a perfect thing for our city.
I totally agree with you. What do you think? I've been talking to a lot of people about this, but why do you think anxiety and depression are a big thing with nowadays? Because is it social media? What do you have any ideas around it? Not to put you on the spot.
I do think social media has a big effect because you get so much more input from so many more people, and I hate to say it because I love social media, but it's always about the, I didn't get enough likes, or, people are commenting on my stuff, and you kind of feel a lot of people, the youth especially, put their values in how they look online and how they look on the internet rather than how they present themselves, because they can present themselves across the whole world essentially now rather than just throughout the people they know. And so I think that's one of the issues, is that because there's so many more people that they can interact with, there's a lot more good, but there's also a lot more bad that weighs into it.
Yes. So you are right in line with what me and Alex Tardif were talking about.
Yeah.
So County Commissioner Tardif, we were talking about this and how this is probably going to be bigger than probably drug addiction, is that we're going to find a lot of kids that are stuck in anxiety and depression because of social media, and exactly it's dead on, exactly the way you just put it.
It's bullying.
Alex Tardif.
Alex Tardif sent this guy to talk to the youth.
It's bullying is what it is.
He did?
That's
Okay.
how they found
So that's, all right, we were talking about this.
He goes, call Ginny and set up and go talk to those kids.
Yep, I talked to Alex about 2 weeks ago, John, when we were out front. Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm glad that your awareness is part of the battle right there. Okay. So you're doing a great job, and anything we can do to support you guys, let us know. Okay.
We had a slight conversation because once they have a space, then they have mechanisms to fund, but it's the capital campaign to get to the space. And I said, well, the city budget's already tight.
Yeah.
But I said that we directed him to come talk to John about ways that maybe we can help them with connections. If we can't write a check, we can help them in other ways, because we partner with CAT, we partner with the food bank. There's other ways we can partner with people.
Absolutely.
Besides writing checks.
And kind of where we're going with our rec program, it's just in the beginning stages, but eventually we'd like to be like a link where you can link up to a program like this, one of many.
Yeah, we want to be
And
part
just
of
being
all
the
those
outlet for
conversations
one of
about
many.
connecting these kids.
Not that they're affiliated with it, but they're the link between. So, yeah.
We just sent him to John and said, talk to John about what they look like and what ways the city might partner and might at least connect you with the right places, if we know, because of all the work Jenny's done. So, super cool talk.
Yeah.
I have a go back. So I'm confused now that we've had a couple just excellent gentlemen come in here and talk about the broadband and a few other things, and Jenny's kind of changed. So I was just wondering if we've changed our minds a little bit here on this broadband thing, on directing staff to continue down the road or not.
Well, John says he has more for us.
Yeah, already have. Yep.
John has more for us.
I'll have to admit that I was a little bit of a slow start on it myself, and the more you look at it, the more exciting it is. And what we didn't hear today was the why. They didn't really get the the Internet of Things and how we're all into interconnectedness and how important it is today.
Well, if
and
you
will
don't
be in the
understand
future.
it, it's very confusing.
Yeah, and the whole it's all magic kind of
Well,
thing.
But it's not magic. It's all ones and zeros.
Well, I think that's a great idea. I'm not even opposed to maybe even doing just a work session around it where we're not,
Not pressed with,
yeah,
with the agenda.
yeah, just a work session around it to learn more. I'm not opposed to
And
that,
invite
so.
more people that are part of the.
Yeah, that are interested. July 17th? Yeah, I did say to put it on July 17th, but I'm just wondering if we don't do a work, it's probably a lot of information that needs to be discussed, right, to understand.
It could be a forum. It could be a forum topic, perhaps.
Yeah, but it's on July 17th's agenda.
So we'll figure it out.
Well, you said if it wasn't too busy.
Yeah.
is what you said.
I did say that. So yes, it's on our mind, and John's got more information.
Okay.
So we talk all the time. So, okay. Anything else, Liam?
Not really. I just want to say one of the most important parts I feel about it is we want it to be a welcoming place for the youth that will attract youth, and not a place where you feel like either your parents are making you go to some dumb thing or that it's scary or weird, because a lot of times in society, which I don't think it's right, but people, like if you go to a therapist or see a counselor, it's always frowned upon, and like you can't tell your friends if you're going to a counselor or to see a therapist, because you're weird then and it's not cool. And so I think one of the main focuses is, first of all, that is not right, but if we can't fix that, one of the main focuses is to make it a place that's not like that, and it's a welcoming place that attracts the youth to go to rather than somewhere.
You got a good head on your shoulder. I can see you being a mentor later in life. So. Okay. I'm gonna do my department reports now. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Good to have you here, Chief Greenway.
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Sue.
Just wanted to mention Citizens Day in the Park. We got at least 5 of the Public Works guys that'll be there. So
nice.
About 40% or more
Yeah.
of our staff down at the shops. So,
Cool.
yeah.
All right. Jacob.
Starting next month, we're going to give you planning department reports as part of the work session, and we're going to see how it works. What we're going to do is once a month, it's going to be me and then Jenny juxtaposed, and so you can get a different slice of the planning department. And if that becomes too much, we can take it down, but we'll start with that.
Look forward to it.
And there's a couple components to it. One, just so you're aware of stuff that's going on, but there's other things that happen that you really don't know about. And if we go back in time, the O'Reilly's property, this is a good example. So it became a KFC in around 2000. And one of the things we do is we look in the file and, okay, what's the history? And saving that large oak tree along the highway was a big deal then. When O'Reilly's came in, they didn't want to keep it. They gave us a survey that showed it was dead. Of course, our code says we want to try to preserve them. It was a big deal then. And sometimes it's the things that you don't hear about. For example, you never had a bunch of people coming, hey, why did you let this tree? Of course, the tree's there.
Yeah.
I just had to be firm. It's there. It's done. End of story. Those are things that you don't hear about a lot, but that happen behind the scenes. Yep. They're not even in a report. And so understanding some of those things too as they come up is kind of also the intent. So you know some of those little battles that, really nobody knows about that stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one example I thought of from years ago. Anyways, that'll be coming up starting in July.
Okay. Look forward to it. Matt. Kathy? Okay. John?
I've got nothing further.
Really? What?
Unless you...
Is anybody wanting to go back out there in our audience? If not, so I would like to, I was going to ask Councilor Locke and Council President Morton, who who got the? I know who I picked for my Mayor's Choice Trophy. How could you not pick a cupcake? If you were at the Kiwanis Day Parade and you seen Riverside's float, the cupcakes were just hilarious, and it was. Yeah,
I'll tell you how.
Yeah.
Check his pockets. He's got $20 bills coming.
So
Why do you think I volunteer to be a judge every year?
Do you guys know who was chose for the other two awards?
Oh, the Heritage Girls.
Yes. Okay. They always do a good float.
Got one, and
Was it the Snoopy pop-up?
there's one that had a bunch of balloons all over it and everything and whatnot. I can't remember what it
Water.
was.
That was the port.
The port?
The port had one that was the blue and white balloons.
I think that's.
I think that's it.
Yeah, the port one. Okay. Yeah, it was a good time. So happy birthday, St. Helens. 130. I was able to drive the Historical Society through in a 19. Oh, can we get that 1929 Mac maybe down there for the car show? I could drive it.
Just to park it there?
Yeah, just to park it for the vintage car show. 'Cause that is, it's really beautiful.
People like to have their picture taken with it.
Yep.
And in the parade, you don't get to do that.
You drive it, you can have it.
Okay, hopefully. And if not, I'll drive it down. I don't mind driving it. It's really cool.
You can get the cake in it.
The history of that thing.
Don't want to see no lawnmowers loaded on that, Rick. No lawnmowers on that.
No lawnmowers on it.
What year is it?
1929 Mac. It was donated by so I started reading along, and I'll give it to the Historical Society, but Winkler was a councilman in the 1950s, and he owned a farm and tractor equipment shop, and he was a councilman for the city, and he donated that in 1950. So we're thinking that it was original purchase. It wasn't. It was actually donated by him in 1950.
Wow.
But he was a councilman, yeah. So there's a big history on it, and then it's very cool. I gave it to the Historical Society to look through, and then we'll get it back. So, but yeah, pretty awesome that, just reading that and driving that truck going, all right, I thought since 1930, this truck has seen these roads a lot since 1950. I thought it was the 30s, but I was misinformed. So, okay, happy, safe 4th, everybody. See you in a month. We're adjourned.